His face has become synonymous with the polls process in Kenya, but every day IEBC Chairman Ahmed Hassan walks into his office at Anniversary Towers in Nairobi. He remembers with nostalgia the challenging but equally rewarding time he has had in office since he was picked to lead electoral reforms in the country after being named chairman of the Interim Independent Electoral Commission IEBC in May 2009. It was largely an incident-free leadership.
We set the bar very high. We conducted very successfully by elections. We introduced a new technology in elections technology, including the result transmission, the piloting of the electronic voter registration.
The IEBC won the confidence of the public, whose faith in the electoral process had taken a beating after the dismal performance of its predecessor, the Electoral Commission of Kenya, in the disputed 2007 polls, which were followed by a wave of post-election violence. Hassan led the organization to successfully conduct 12 parliamentary by-elections and 58 civic elections in the 2010 constitutional referendum.
Conducting very successfully the referendum. The yes and no were actually the no team considered defeat 48 hours before we announced the results. And so the IEBC team was, in my view, a very, very successful team.
After the promulgation of the new constitution, the IEBC had outlived its term. A new electoral body, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, was being formed. Hassan's name was very much in the frame in the race for the post of IEBC chair, but he reveals his family advised him against going for the seat.
My family did not want me to apply for the second job. They were happy that I did a good job as chairman of IEBC, but they were against me applying for the second job of IEBC. But if you recall, Abdi, there's a clamor for me to reapply. Even the Lost Site of Kenya endorsed me when the job was advertised.
His curriculum vitae came under scrutiny. The selection panel thoroughly vetted the man who had successfully spearheaded the IEBC. Hassan graduated with a bachelor's degree in law from the University of Nairobi School of Law in 1992 and a postgraduate diploma in law from the Kenya School of Law in 1994. He went into private legal practice since then, specializing in commercial and constitutional law. He served as a commissioner on the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission (CKRC) from 2000 to 2005 and also served as commissioner on a Presidential Commission of Inquiry to inquire into the breach of national security by the Armenian two brothers. He got the IEBC chairman's job in the end, but in retrospect, he says the selection panel's move to leave out other IEBC commissioners when the new commission was formed was not a wise move.
I had gone to the Public Legal Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. I had gone to the Committee of Experts. I had gone to see the Minister for Justice. I pleaded with everybody I could talk to retain them in the commission to oversee the very difficult election coming up. But I was not successful. Some of them, in my view, were hounded out of office because of politics.
He particularly singles out former Commissioner Davis Chirchir, who has since been appointed Energy Cabinet Secretary, and former Commissioner Winnie Guchu as two electoral experts who were missed in the preparations and management of the 2013 polls.
I was very disappointed when out of the 8 commissioners, only 1 commissioner came back, Ambassador Zibo.
He, however, credits the new commissioners for putting their best foot forward in the run-up to the historic polls. His tenure at the IEBC started well. IEBC registered over 14 million voters in just 1 month. But the March polls were not going to be ordinary polls, given that voters would elect a president and his deputy, a governor, a senator, a member of the National Assembly, a women's representative, and a member of the county assembly, all in one day. But lumping all those elections in one day, Hassan says, was a mistake, given the little time for preparations.
I had proposed to the Committee of Experts to stagger the elections as is common with other African countries. But they refused. They said all elections must be held on the same day. I have said this before, I'm going to repeat it again. It's not going to be a sustainable thing.
There were other challenges too. On several occasions, there were concerns about the chairman's security after armed gunmen opened fire on his bodyguards in early February, just a month to the election.
They were attacking in unclear circumstances, and then also something else which people don't know is that in a week later, my vehicle, I was driving myself personally. I was blocked by another vehicle, by two vehicles. But I was saved by police officers who were behind me, who escorted me to my house. So, but the guys who blocked me were actually armed. I don't know what was the intention.
Hassan, however, concedes that although politicians made disconcerting remarks regularly, the Grand Coalition government did not attempt to interfere with the electoral process.
I have never been intimidated by the president, Kibaki, or by the prime minister. I had the fullest support from both of them. But I have been intimidated by those around them. I have received calls, for example, when I was the chair of the interim commission, where I was being told, don't you know that you are interim? And I say yes, and then they say, which part of the word interim do you have difficulty understanding? And yes, that is a subtle intimidation. And but I stood my ground.
On March 4th, 2013, Hassan's biggest test arrived. The long queues told the story of a huge voter turnout for the general election and huge expectations too. The IEBC chairman's busiest and most stressful days in office had just begun. In the end, he says the polls were above board, never mind the logistical hiccups.
I therefore declare Uhuru Kenyatta the duly elected president of the Republic of Kenya.
But when he announced the presidential election results, the already fragmented political class was further divided. The Coalition for Reforms and Democracy immediately cried foul, and questions were raised about the integrity of the results. But the IEBC chair says the fact that local and international observers gave the polls a clean bill of health.
The response by the petitioner. So that is the way we see it.
And the Supreme Court did not overturn the presidential election results following a petition was proof that the elections were fair.
12, 13, 14.
In any case, he says hiding the truth on any electoral malpractices would have been impossible.
There were 9 commissioners. There are more than 9. There was a CEO, directors, there are managers. There are 290 returning officers in the country. There are 47 county returning officers in the country. Surely, if there's a conspiracy to steal elections, somebody will have spoken out, or some evidence will have come out.
The period soon after the election results was also a time, he says, when he and his family went through a traumatizing ordeal.
Of course, being bashed in the media or on social media and getting my family getting reports that either I'm having heart attack or I'm dead or this. I mean, it's not good for them because they get worried. They call me. They are very concerned. It's not good for them, for my friends and family.
This was an apt moment to ask him about his tenure at the helm of the commission in general. What was the lowest moment for him in office?
When the result transmission failed. That's the lowest moment.
And the highest point?
As IEBC chairman, when the results were announced and 68% of Kenyans approved the constitution, and I stood on Boma's ground, where I was also a commissioner of the CKRC, where we drafted the constitution and we discussed the debated it in the Bomas. For me, that was a moment of historic proportion.
He also takes pride in the International Electoral Award he won in Malaysia in early December 2013, alongside Ghana Electoral Commission Chief Dr. Kwadwo Afare-Gyan for their management of elections in their respective countries, an award he feels was the result of integrity in his work. He also insists he had a good working relationship with suspended IEBC Chief Electoral Officer James Oswago, contrary to media reports. For a man who is constantly under pressure at the workplace, how does he spend his leisure time?
I spend sometimes the few time I have with my family when I have time. I also like reading. I read a lot. Biographies, books about leadership, management. I do a lot of course, I watch documentaries.
He says his ascending to the helm of the commission has come at a cost.
I have to hold the office that I hold with the dignity it deserves. But more importantly, I cannot walk the way I used to do on the streets, go to my favorite restaurants, eat my leso the way I like it, go to the mosque and pray. I can't do that anymore. It's a little bit restrictive. So I have become a VIP, a very important prisoner.
For now, Ahmed Isaack Hassan says he's focused on improving the electoral body's performance, and to accomplish that, the Commission is currently conducting a post-election evaluation to identify the areas where it fell short. Abdi Osman, Citizen TV.